Hi, I'm Dr. Val, and welcome to Hot Topics from the Soul. Have you ever been at a party or a function and the music is playing and everything is just live and you're having a good time, and then all of a sudden the music stops? I have along with me my co host.
Well, good evening, Dr. J.R. Thicklin here. And, there's a old song that says, when the music stops, that's when I sing my song. But tonight, we're going to examine some things about what happens when the music stops, when the things that we are now experiencing, when most of it may be noises and things that are coming from everywhere. Will it bring us to a decision? Will it bring us to a halt? Or what happens when the music stops?
Dr. J, unfortunately, this dispensation that we're living in right now is kind of hard for the not only the American people but people around the world. They're experiencing turmoil in their lives. The music that was playing in their ears are no longer playing. They're no longer dancing. You know, when you hear music, you kind of you get that vibe, and no matter what you're going through, when you hear that song, those lyrics of love and
Yes.
purpose and joy, you kind of excel and rise to the occasion of whatever obstacle you're facing. But so many times obstacles are so hard that we can't break through the barrier, and the music is gone. When the music is gone, the spirit and the will to fight and press on is gone.
Well, you hit it right on the head because as long as the music is playing, and I think we know, as long as the music is playing, people keep moving. They keep moving and they're dancing. But when the music stops, reality is revealed.
Hmm.
When the music stops, people are forced to make decisions. When the music stops, that's when systems are shaken. When the music stops, that's when we notice the illusions that we're often living up under collapse. When the music stops, what happens there is that comfort zones are disrupted. And what we need to understand today that the music, listen, we often say it's not over to the fat lady sing. And no offense to the fat lady, we often say it's not over to the fat lady sings. But in so many things that we're seeing and witnessing in this day and time, listen, it sounds like to me that she may be warming up her vocal cords.
Hmm.
And we got to be ready for what's happening.
Dr. J, we're not only in a physical war, but we're in a spiritual war against principalities and of darkness in high places. You know, the
Yes.
Bible talks about that in Ephesians 6 and 12, that we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities. And, right now, this is the state that we're in. We are in a state of emergency, if you will, across the world, not just in the US, but across the world. Lives have been disrupted. People have lost jobs. There's domestic violence is on the rise. Domestic violence isn't going, it doesn't care what pedigree you come from. Domestic violence is everywhere. And the suicide rate has increased because people have lost grip of reality and what that looks like for them, because the music has stopped and they no longer know the steps to the songs that they are accustomed to. So they feel out of sorts and off balance. And we have to be able to create some type of synergy of norm so that people can get back to reality of what it looks like. People in general know how to fight,
Yeah.
but
Mhm.
the fight has is gone out of so many individuals, and then they want to succumb to the darknesses that surround them. But we are here to encourage you today that no matter what it looks like, you got to keep on fighting. No matter what it feels like, keep on dancing. No matter what it looks like, create your own song.
Well, you're saying a whole lot, and you're exactly right. And the thing about it is this: what we have to understand is this. Some people are good dancers, right? They can keep up with the beat, they can keep up with the tune, and they can move with the music. But there are others, they're not moving with the music. The music is moving around them. And so I'm
Hmm.
saying that in this day and time, we have to be alert. We have to be alert. We have to be grounded like never before, because the music that's going around us is a lot of things. The music of politics, the noise, the media cycles that we continue to see, the things that we're seeing that are happening around us, not just wars and rumors of war, but we're seeing things that directly impact our economic playing field. We're seeing geopolitical things play out right in front of us. Things that used to be that they were so far removed from us that we didn't have to worry about them. But now they're right up in our face. We are all facing things each and every day. I face it every week. I promise you that my gas, I am paying ridiculous for gas each week. Each week I am gassing up. I am gassing up a minimum of 3 times. A minimum of 3 times I'm filling up each week. By the time the month is over with, I am way very close, in some cases, to almost $800 a month. This is ridiculous. What are we seeing? We're seeing prices go up. We're seeing things happen around us, and we can do one or two things. We can either face the music, or we can avoid it. We can,
Mm,
or we can avoid it. Now, avoiding it doesn't make it go away. Avoiding doesn't make it disappear. It doesn't cause it to dissipate. But what avoiding does is simply delay your capturing the reality of what you're going through. So we got to understand that oftentimes what we're in the midst of it is no more than also distraction. They're constant distraction. They're cultural distraction. And we've got to be willing and got to be ready to face those things that are coming at us. And we're going to have to face them in a spirit of faith. Where do you find faith? How do you find hope in times that seem to be hopeless? Where do
mm,
we find faith in times where people seem to be helpless? Where do we find faith? One thing we should know, that we cannot put our trust in the systems of this world. We cannot put our trust in man of this world, because the fact, as long as there is a free will, that people can choose right and wrong, that people will choose greed and power over your life. Wars are being fought. And oftentimes there's propaganda behind the wars. And we're told that we're fighting for this, we're fighting for that. No, we're not. They're fighting for power. They're fighting for power and greed, and power and greed, and power and greed. And without becoming so political, consider this. Consider where we are right now. Consider this. We are looking at the time that we're in the midst of a war that literally should not have happened.
absolutely.
This is a repeat. We went through this with the whole thing, the weapons of mass destruction that we never found. But at the end of it, it cost us thousands upon thousands of lives. And guess what? Only the rich got richer. Defense contractors, those that are making weapons and things of that, they fuel and they funnel their own pocket at the lives, at the expense of the lives of the people. Now look at what we have now. Listen, I'm not even trying to be political. There was an agreement. There was an Iran nuclear deal that came to pass up under President Barack Obama. It wasn't just a United States Iran deal. It involved other countries and other allies and other ones in the Middle East as well. It was a plan that was foolproof. The political propaganda from that was, yeah, he paid them billions of dollars. He did not pay them the dollars. He simply unfroze the money that they had frozen that actually belonged to them. But here's the thing. Had we had a war? Had there been anything to happen? No. And all of a sudden we're saying that here's a threat and here's an existential threat to us. No, it wasn't. Let's remember just a year ago in June. Remember Operation Hammer, Jackhammer, whatever we call it? And we obliterated them, and all that was gone. We obliterated them. And then how in the world did we obliterate all that? And we went way down and dug, remember the big old bombs? In less than a year's time, you're saying they rapidly reproduce? No. Folks, this has nothing to do with that. This is about power, and this is about greed. But let me share something with you that happened, and go back and look it up yourself. Remember, our current president said he ripped up that agreement because it was the worst deal in history. Well, let's examine. Let's examine. Come a little closer. Let's examine. Could have been the worst deal in history. You know why? Because the stuff that's going on now, we didn't have to worry about the Straits of Hormuz. That wasn't a problem. Now We're not in negotiating seat of strength. We're in the negotiating seat of reaction. And what am I saying? What have we gained any more than what was gained through there? Nothing. We've gone through all of this just to try to recapture some of the things that was in the previous agreement, Iran nuclear agreement. And people are going on as nothing is there. Listen, lives are at stake. Your quality of life is at stake. All of these things are happening now. People are living in a state of anxiety. The thing about it is, don't wait till the music stops before you make decisions. Don't wait till the music stops before you do some things that's going to be for your better good. Don't wait till the music stops. Robert F. Kennedy put it best, and I'm talking about Robert F. Kennedy Sr. He said, the best time to repair a roof is when the sun is shining. We had some time that the sun was shining. There was an agreement in place.
Absolutely. You know, Dr. J, we, the American people, the most resilient people in nations, because of the fact that we know how it is to be poor. We know
Yeah.
how it is to be rich. But yet we always find a way to bounce back. We always find a way to a path which is enriching for our family so that we can leave legacy.
Yeah.
So I want to encourage people that are looking and listening to us right now, don't give up and don't forget your dance steps. Don't forget the moves. Remember the music in your head. Now, not mentally be off where you be hearing all kind of people talking to you and stuff that'll knock you off balance, but remember the joy, remember the love, and remember that not all of your neighbors are your enemies. They are not all your enemies. As a matter of fact, when a storm comes, that's when we should band together and look after one another, protect one another, and make sure that everybody's okay. Make sure everybody's children is okay. Look out for our seniors and make sure that they have food to eat. They only eat a little bit of food, so check on seniors that are near you. This is the time that we have to roll it back and remember how it used to be back in the day. And we're going to make it. This light affliction is but for a moment. When the egg crisis was over, everybody was running around trying to find eggs. Matter of fact, Costco had these little tiny little eggs. I think they were ostrich eggs. People were buying those up and stuff and frying up 10 of those because they were so small. But it was a resilient. People are resilient. We know what to do in times of a storm. There's earthquakes, there's flooding, there's hurricane, there's snowstorms. All that is going on. There's fire burning uncontrollably in New Jersey, but people know how to survive. People know how to press forward. And yes, sometimes we get weak because we in this flesh here. And then when we look at the news and see all this stuff coming in, it attacks our mind and weakens our spirit. But we got to learn not to faint, not to faint. Keep pressing towards the mark of the high calling. That high calling is in Christ. That's who we believe in. At the top of the year, I said it. I'm going to keep saying it. This should be the greatest revival this world has ever seen, this world has ever known, because this is the season we're going to be able to bring people back to God, because we've become so haughty in ourselves. We've become so puffed up that we feel that we're doing everything in our own might and own spirit. And let me tell you something, that person that is sitting high, he's going to be brought down low, because there's only one Jesus.
Well, absolutely. Often imitated, but never duplicated. And
Never
we have to
duplicated.
understand.
There's only one Jesus. And it's in him I live, I move, and I have my being. So we got to be able to keep the music going in our minds and our spirit so that we can move forward to the next level of greatness. Yes, there's greatness at the end of this tunnel we have to walk through. As I said, this affliction is only but for a moment. Trouble is not going to last always. Thank you so much, George. trouble can't last always. So we have to be able to be resilient in our own mind. And this is the time actually for us to fulfill the purpose and the destiny that God has for us, because this is going to cause us to think. That thing that you've been wanting to do, this is the season for you to go ahead and do it. Supply for the demand. Look around and see what's going on and see what you can do to generate income. People have money. It's never a shortage of money, just a shortage of ideas. So people have money to do things so that you can bounce off of one another. That's where that iron sharpens iron comes from, that we have to learn how to work together as a people. Even though the nation is crumbling, we as individuals need to know how to stand.
We've already seen it, right? The blueprint. We've lived through the storms. We lived through the transatlantic slavery. We lived through all of these things here. And the thing about it is this, I can't help but get back to this thing called hope. Our hope
Mm,
and our anchor has never been in a political system. Our hope and our anchor has never been inside of those things. We have trusted God in the midst of all things, and not a religion. I'm talking about a relationship, knowing that He that have made us, He that has begun a good work in us, is able to complete it. We know that in the time of trouble, that He shows up in our lives. What we must do now is that we have to draw nigh back to that system of belief, that system of faith, not get caught up with all the political rhetoric that is around us, that is oftentimes filled with a bunch of ideologies that are self aggrandizing, and they do not consider those that may not be on their level. So we have to look at the thing that is solid. What is the one thing that's solid? We know that the truth of God is solid. There's a scripture there in Daniel that says, "For the people that know their God, they shall be strong and
so,
do mighty exploits." Here's the problem. If you're weak in this moment, if you feel like this is a time of fainting, then I'm going to invite you to get to know your God, to draw closer to Him. His word that never fails. Listen, we change presidents depending on what election every 4 years, sometime every 8 years. We change senators, we change governors, we change congressmen and congresswomen, and all of those things changes over time. But can I tell you something? The truth of God never changes. It
never
remains
changes.
constant. It remains constant. So no matter what we're facing, even in these political times, I'm telling you, you talking about the only thing I know that is more powerful than a nuclear bomb. You're talking about the word of God. Listen, He is the same God that took the man called Gideon, who had an army that number that was already below and beneath the number of the enemy, and still told him he had too many. What was he trying to get him to know? That God doesn't measure number with strength. He doesn't measure number with strength. He measured number with those that have chosen. Watch this. They have chosen that though some trust in horsemen, some trust in chariots, some trust in missiles, some trust in bombs, but we are going to trust in the name of our God. And if we would trust in that name there, in the midst of whatever is happening, we will see victory. But we've got to make this a real pursuit, a pursuit of knowledge, a pursuit of intimacy, a pursuit of wisdom, because that's where we will find the victory. So that when the music stops, we don't find ourselves at peril. When the music stops, we can face whatever is in front of us. When the music stops, we're able to still keep on dancing. Don't you stop that. Don't you stop the music. You remember that song, right? Listen, the real music is the music of our praise. The real music is the music of our worship. The real music of those Zion songs. The real music of the testimony that we said, I once was young, but I now am old, but I never seen the righteous forsaken, nor seen beggars bread. The real music. See, that's the music we're dancing to. We're not dancing to political ideology. We're not going through all those things, through all those things that are self-grandizing. We are dancing to the song. You know, a poor man cried unto the Lord, and He heard him,
Heard
and
him.
He delivered
He
him out of
delivered
all of
them
his
out of
trouble. And this is what He
all.
said: He lifted him up out of the miry clay and set his foot upon a rock and put a new song in his mouth.
Yeah.
See, it's time
Dr.
for
J,
a new song.
I believe that this is a time that a shift is occurring in the lives of the individuals is, and especially the believers who've been waiting a long time for change to come.
Yeah.
Change is
Yes.
coming. Change is
Yes.
coming. And this is the time that you will know who the true worshipers of the
Yes.
Lord is. Because I remember, watching the Ten Commandments when the
Yes.
people were being led out of Egypt. They were just singing and they were dancing. But
Yes.
then every time an obstacle came, they was like, "You brought us out in this wilderness to die. Where's your God?" But I thought he was our God. We're
Yes.
so quick to abort the plan and the vision for our lives because there's obstacles in the way. There's always going to be obstacles, but the one that endures to the end,
That's right.
the
Right
one that
there.
presses on to the end, that's the one that is going to get the prize. And individuals say, "Well, I've been in this way a long time." Get out of the way. Let go and let God. Let go and let God.
You know,
There's so many times, I personally, with my back up against the wall, and I didn't know how I was going to make it. I remember being homeless with my four children and having to sleep on a mattress because I didn't have anywhere for us. And here we were, homeless, sleeping on a mattress because I was a victim of domestic violence. So I had to pull myself out of that situation. I left my home, I left my cars, I left my furniture, everything. All we had was our clothes. And I needed that peace of mind, and I didn't know what I was going to do or what the next step of my life was, but I knew I had to keep moving forward. And I say to those individuals that are going through adversity, don't just sit there and stop. Keep pressing forward because greater is coming. Greater is on the other side if we just keep the faith. We got to keep the faith, knowing that He is able to do exceedingly and abundantly above all we can ask or think, according to
Doctor.
the power that's in us. We have that power in us to move to the next level, to cause a shift, regardless of what it looks like, Dr. J. And I tell you, I cried many tears. I was on my knees many nights, and I'm still every day that God grants me new mercies. I'm seeing the manifestation of all those prayers and all those tears that I prayed and went through all those many years. Everything didn't change or shift for me overnight, but it was a process. And when it came, I was so grateful for the what I did have. And we got to get back to that, appreciating God for who He is, because He said, "I will supply your your daily need." So a lot of people, they want the millions and billions of dollars so they can do this and do that. But can He trust you with a million? Can He trust you with $1 billion? He said, "I shall supply your every need." And I can tell you honestly, every need God has always supplied. He has never ever failed me. Every time I had a need, the manifestation came. And that's why, Dr. J, a lot of times, I ask God, who can I bless?
Yes.
Who can I bless? I don't have a lot, but I want to bless someone because I know how it was when I had nothing. And I still
Absolutely.
blessed, even though I didn't have nothing. I'm people that follow me, they know I have seeded into the lives of their children going to school. And especially those mothers
Yes.
that have three, four, and five children, because I had four, and I knew how hard it
Absolutely.
was sometimes to even get gas to go to work. I
Yeah.
remember, Dr. J, going to the grocery store with $20 and making that $20 worth of grocery last for the whole week. We can do it. We can do it, but we want to be all flamboyant and stuff. Those pork and beans and franks were good. Cut up that chicken real small, get some rice and make some gravy. It was good. Get
And you
that
were
cornbread
sustained.
with some lima beans and rice. It was good.
It sustained you.
Sometimes we have to lose in order to gain.
Yeah. It sustained you. Dr. Val, you so openly shared about the fact that that season that you went through with domestic violence and all of that happening. And guess what? Your regular life doesn't stop just because the violence was going on.
Yeah.
It didn't stop. But you found yourself where many victims find themselves having to make decisions. It is generally the victim who find themselves having to run, to lead, oftentimes things they helped build, oftentimes leaving the comfort that they helped design. And you went through all of that. I know because we've been friends for over 38 years, I believe it is. And listen,
You're getting
we've
old,
seen
Dr. J.
yeah, we've seen these things happen, but here's the thing that has been a constant, and I like what Sister Catherine, my dear friend Catherine Nell said. She said the victory is truly in our praise and a covenant relationship with God through Christ. Because even in the midst of what you went through, having things but not having access to it, having to get by the best way you can, you still kept your faith intact with our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. You believed
Absolutely.
him and trusted him even in the midst of all things. When people was passing you by and did not know you were going through what you were going through, you held in there. You hung in there because what you understood is that your faith and your covenant was not in a person, was not in a man. That the truth be told, deceit had already happened, right? Deception had already happened. This should not have been happening. But in the midst of the storm, the Bible said that in the time of trouble, he will hide us in his pavilion. He has a way of hiding us, and he hid you. And when we fast forward all these years we've known each other, fast forward, and what God has done in and through your life. Those four little kids, as we knew them then, God has blessed them. They're all grown up. They're all gone to college. They got lives, they got family, they're doing well. And it's not because of the fact that you chose some strange God, but because you stayed true to the God that you knew. You stayed true and understood that you had more than just a church relationship. You had a covenant relationship. And that covenant relationship was the difference. It wasn't predicated upon, oh, I showed up at church every Sunday at this time. It was about the things that you did when you wasn't in church, on your
Hmm.
face, crying out before God, saying, God, I know that your word is true. And you lived it. And listen, I'm saying in the day and times that we're living in now, folks, this is not a time for superficial, surface level faith. This is time for deep, sacred depthness and faith, because I tell you, it's never the storms of life that will destroy us. It's always the shallowness. When we're
Yeah.
shallow, we can be blown away. When we're shallow, we can be disrupted. When we're shallow in our faith, we make scattered decisions. But I'm telling you, when we're locked in, when we are in pursuit, there's something that'll happen. And the thing I love about it, that God never checks our status. Sometimes we trying to find ourselves defining ourselves by our perceived status. I have 75,000 followers. I have 100,000 followers. That's status. That's not necessarily substance. But I love what the word says. It said, if God be for us, he's better than the whole world against us. If God be for
Absolutely.
us, who can be against us? And that's where our faith have to lie these days and times. Somebody's watching right now that may have heard for the first time, even that brief summary of your journey through domestic violence, not knowing that what God has done. And the thing about it, God always, and that was a chapter, those was chapters of your life.
Yeah,
And
we
God,
all have stories within our
there
stories,
you go.
Dr. J. It's ever folding.
Exactly. And God used you after coming out of all of that. And you wrote books, from the soul of a woman, love shouldn't hurt. Once again, shining light on understanding what real love is. What real love is, understanding the fact that you are valuable in God's eyesight, and you need to see yourself through that lens there. And then you came back and you wrote another book, Unveiling Secrets of the Heart, forgiving our past to free our future. Then you moved into the area of talking to them about the valuableness of not still being held captive, although the abusive relationship is gone. How many people that are no longer in that bad situation physically, but that situation residue is still holding
It's
them
still there wrapped up.
It's still holding them hostage. And so in your book there, you challenge them to understand that you got to forgive the past in order to free your future. Forgiving the past is not acting like it never happened.
Hmm.
Forgiving the past is not a sense of I'm giving a person a free pass, but forgiving the past meaning that I'm unlocking myself. In other words, in the words of the great prophetess Fantasia, you got to go ahead and free yourself, right? And
God, free
so that's
yourself.
what forgiving your past, in order to free your future. And you went on from there and you wrote other books that spoke to what it means, the power of covenant, the power of covenant. Because though the music is playing, sometime in life we experience seasons where there's some sad songs. But I promise you, if we would stay diligent, if we would stay diligent, we will see there's a new song that is put in our heart and our mouth. And we're able to overcome. We're able to be better. Somebody is listening right now, perhaps they feel that the wind is against them. Their backs up against the wall. They feel as if that shame is there because of their current situation. But they don't have to stay there. They don't have to live there. That is not their final address. That's not their final destination. That they can come up out of it. Because I'm telling you, just as you will believe and choose to believe the negative, I dare you to choose to believe the truth. God didn't ask us to make the truth happen, to make it work. All he said, if thou can believe, thou
Mm.
shalt see the glory of God.
See the glory of God.
If y'all can believe, can I get somebody to believe? Can we get somebody to believe? Can you believe? Can you believe? Don't allow the things of this world to knock the sense of belief out of you. That you become that person who's become so cynical that you don't believe in nothing and no one. I promise you, the sun changes. The sun doesn't change as you say. I know the grass wither
Yeah,
and the
hot topics from the soul, reaching all minds, turning knowledge into gold. Yeah,
when the music,
hot topics from the soul,
what are you holding on to?
hot topics from the soul.
Absolutely, Dr. J. You know what song jumped in my mind and my spirit?
What's that?
That song that says, I hope you dance. You know, when one
Exactly.
door closes, another opens.
Yes.
And don't
Yes.
forget to give love a chance. And I hope you dance.
Dance.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Till
Until
next
next
time.
time, join us for another Hot Topics from the Soul. And remember, no matter if the music stops, you keep on dancing.
Yes.
Hot topics from the soul. Yeah, yeah, hot topics from the soul, reaching all minds, turning knowledge into gold. Yeah, hot topics from the